630 Ched presents The Announcers. Opinion, personality, passion. The Announcers on 630 Ched, Edmonton's breaking news and conversation station.
Thank you for joining us on this week's edition of The Announcers. I'm Ryan Jespersen, joined by Andrew Grose, Jalen Nye, and it's just occurred to me, of course, that not only do we broadcast this show, but we also present it on 630 Ched's YouTube channel, and I've got an eye that looks like a blackberry pie.
Your whole side of your face, what happened?
Yeah, I took a hockey puck to the face just a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact. I actually got off really lucky, to be honest with you. Didn't lose any teeth, didn't shatter my cheekbone, didn't break my jaw. But I'll tell you, it's been something to get used to this, and I've been thankful that for the most part, my television days are over, and I've been working here in radio.
I'm going to need you to not look directly
Yeah,
at
exactly.
me.
It's gruesome.
And then don't look at him because the
Yeah,
red
because
bit
the whole
just
red
grosses
thing
me
that's
out.
going on.
You're talking about, it's not just the black eye that's turning
deal
you off,
with the
it's the
black
fact
eye.
that the whites of my eye are red.
Yeah, that's creepy is what that...
It's been a long time since I had a black eye.
Ryan Jespersen, why weren't you wearing a cage?
Come
on, let's talk about
visor.
this.
But yeah,
Something.
I don't know that a visor would have helped me. I think the puck came in below where the visor would have been, just above my, kind of just below my cheekbone. But yeah, the cage thing, I'm having the cage conversation now. The thing is, you know how hockey players are, right? You get beaked for wearing a visor. I mean, Craig McTavish didn't even want to wear a helmet. A lot of guys didn't. And
I'm not sure if you and Craig McTavish are in the same conversation. I mean, I don't mean to judge.
A buddy of mine sent me a photo of Ryan Smith, who there's a couple iconic photos, and he said, now you know how he feels. And I said, I'm not sure that we should be mentioned in the same sentence.
That was Chris Pronger's shot, wasn't it?
This was definitely a beer league accident, mine. But hockey players are stubborn, and
there he goes
if
again.
You wear a cage, you just, especially with the style of play that I employ, which is less heavy on skill and more heavy on passion, the banging bodies, the making the living in front of the net, the cross-checking, the mixing it up, the greasy goals. If you're doing that wearing a cage...
Did you wear a cage when you were on television?
No.
Was there nothing in your contract suggesting
there
that
wasn't,
you should?
Believe it or not. There was nothing in the contract which is actually some people thought was kind of surprising.
Listen, I can settle this relatively quickly. This is Canada, so here's what we'll do. We'll make a rule that nobody likes. If you have to appear on television at any point in time as a result of your profession, you wear a cage. Otherwise, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and you know what? And I find that, like, from the common sense standpoint,
Sure.
pretty hard to argue against. Of course, Murphy's Law in this is that the accident happened about 20 hours before the budget was delivered.
Yeah.
And that's a big day here on 630 Ched. You two did a masterful job of quarterbacking our coverage through the afternoon, but I had also made a commitment to our friends at Global to sit on their budget panel. And I literally iced my face for probably 16 of the 20 hours following the injury and put as much makeup as I could possibly find onto my face. But yeah, you're having a really... you want me to wear sunglasses?
It's quite something.
I'll wear sunglasses.
Ryan, do you wear a cup?
Well, Andrew, the family jewels are very important.
So you
Well,
do
so's your
take
face.
protection. Okay, well, your priorities are clear.
You know what, though? Somebody pointed out to me, and quite rightfully so, that all. I mean, this hockey puck, and we're talking a slap shot from the point. I mean, like it's. I'm not going to say the guys are sending him in at 100 miles an hour, but
still.
it was a Nate alumni that took the shot. So this guy's a hockey player, and it was a heavy shot. And someone said, that they saw someone sustain almost the identical injury in almost the identical part of their face, and the person had their jaw wired shut for 8 weeks, and it's been a bit of a wake-up call.
I don't know why you find this to be an isolated incident where you would have to suggest that, well, it happened to somebody else. I would imagine it happens to somebody every night.
Probably.
You're firing a hunk of rubber at people's heads.
Well, I know. I don't know how much NHL playoff hockey you guys have been watching. Henrik Lundqvist, the Rangers goalie, took a stick through his mask.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Wow.
first game of that series and sustained an eye injury. So, I mean, everybody knows the one guy who says, I survived the car accident because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you can make that argument. I think I know how this story is going to end, and I think I'm going to be the guy, I guess, that's out there wearing a cage because there's been sort of a family ultimatum. But I'm going to have to explain it every single time. I'm going to have a sticker on the back of my lid that says, just about shattered my jaw. That explains the cage.
Two things. Can you imagine had your jaw had to have been wired shut for 8 weeks, given the job that you do anytime? Like whether you're when you're
would I get EI or would I get WCB?
Well,
maybe?
and the other thing is like who is going to do that show? I don't want to do the show. You don't want to do that show.
No.
What do you guys have against the show?
No, you
It's
have a
pretty
great
early.
show.
It's a great show.
It is early. Milkshakes for 8 weeks sounded pretty good.
That was good. Number 2, though, I love the fact that an ultimatum has been put down.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder how often ultimatums are put down in the house.
Quite rarely.
Yeah.
We're typically an ultimatum-free household. Is that are those employed in your domicile? You got to pick your spots. You got to pick your spots.
Don't ask a woman if there's ultimatums in a household. She's not going to say there is. There is.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
Come on, please.
Maybe in your house.
No.
Maybe
Listen.
in your lovely little world.
Jayla and I, men use
Not
their
in my
words.
house.
Men use words.
We've had the discussion.
Women use looks. So let's just throw something down. For example, parking meters on sale in the city of Edmonton. They've all been removed from the streets. $100 if you want one. I haven't met a guy yet that doesn't.
I want one.
I want one as well. I've been told I can't have one.
Really?
Yes.
Like you can't put it in the garage. You can't put it in the.
I suppose I could hide it in the garage, but it sort of defeats the purpose of spending the $100. I was told, by the way, that that's the exact same price as a louvered closet door. I'm not even sure how those two relate.
She gets the louvered closet door.
I guess.
You get the parking meter.
No, that's not because it takes 2 doors. So there goes my meter. Can your husband have a parking meter if he wants one?
You know that Coach is allowed to do whatever he wants.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that.
Whatever, eh?
You should put on sunglasses as well. He can't do whatever he wants, but that's fine.
My thing is like with the parking meter.
Yes.
Number one, I love the iron. I'm going to say it. I am a bit of a. I'm a bit of a roll the dice guy when it comes to parking in the city.
In your face?
In my face. When I park, sometimes I'll pay, and sometimes I'll decide to roll the dice.
Now, does it depend on whether or not it's a meter or a lot? Because those in-park guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a great question. And I don't want to say I never pay in the lots, but I never pay in the lots.
Wow, really? Eh?
But you know what? I've been towed for that.
Yeah.
And I deserve to be towed, and I don't complain when I'm towed. I mean, I mutter, but I don't complain because I deserve it, because I knew the rules of the game and I got caught, much like this puck to the face. When it comes to paying for parking on the street, you got to be careful downtown because there's nooks and crannies that these meter maids can hide out in, and you never know how close they are. However, if I see a meter reader moving past the vehicles and I can see that they've just gone past the spot that's just opened up for me, I figure I've got about an hour till they're back, and so sometimes I'll roll the dice. I save myself the $4, but every once in a while there's a ticket there waiting for me, and it would be interesting to know actually whether or not I've come out ahead or behind.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I love the irony of having a
What your
parking
plus
meter
or minus
because
is,
I've
sure.
probably not spent $100 in parking meters since I moved to Edmonton 10 years ago.
You ever got your car towed?
Yeah.
Out of a parking meter?
No, not from a meter, no.
From the lot, though.
From the lot, I've been towed.
I got towed outside of the CBC. I won't even say why I was there, because I don't remember. But I was outside.
It was a job interview,
It was
wasn't it?
not. I just wanted to avoid that suggestion. But it was years ago. I pulled up, and it's, downtown has different rules. People who don't go downtown or live downtown don't realize there's a whole bunch of rules downtown. They call them like laws or something. I don't know.
Society, laws.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I pulled up to a meter. There's actually a meter there, and there was a meter maid kind of person there, and I asked them, can I park here? And she went, yes. And I went, okay. And I put some money in the meter and went in and did what I had to do. When I came out, my car was gone. But she was still there. And I was like, what happened to my car? And she goes, it got towed. And I go, why did it get towed? And she goes, there's no parking here between this hour and this hour. And I said, I asked you specifically if I could park here. And she said, you can park here, but you'll get towed. And I discovered that there's a lineup of tow trucks around the corner, and they wait for whatever time that is. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 3, whatever it is.
Clean it all out.
And they clean them all out.
Here's the thing about parking downtown. I don't know if you guys, parkades freak me out. I hate parkades. I don't like them. They're smelly.
They smell like urinals.
They smell
weird,
like.
eh?
And I think it's maybe because they're used like
I
that.
think
I-
they actually
it
are.
might be.
I think they actually are. And there is one in particular that I used to go to all the time, and it was my first time, I think, inhaling crack cocaine.
Your first time.
My first time and my only time.
Wait a second.
Wait,
Hang on.
is this a Rob Ford?
Just to clarify, you did crack cocaine and ended up in an underground parkade?
No. I was in a parkade
Okay, all right,
downtown.
okay.
And I was in the stairwell of a parkade.
Okay, I see where. Okay.
And there was people doing crack cocaine
Okay.
in the stairwell.
No, that's much better.
It may have just been menthol cigarettes. I mean, how do we know what crack smells like?
I'm
right?
pretty
Really?
sure it was menthol cigarettes, and they kind of laughed, and I went by, and it dulled the smell of pee. But I don't go to that one anymore
Why?
because
Free crack.
because it scares me.
Sure.
It scares me.
Oh, wow.
But the library parkade is the one to go to downtown,
Oh, really?
especially on a Saturday.
You want to hear a story about the library?
Because
It's
your
full of
first
readers.
2 hours or your first 3 hours, it only costs $1 on a Saturday.
Oh, wow.
There you go. I don't know why anyone would park anywhere else.
It's a great deal.
So there you go.
Tell me about your library parkade
boy.
story.
We parked at the library in that parkade to go to the Citadel.
Oh, you got lost?
I haven't told you this story. This is an insane story. This is an insane story. Every word of this is true. So we park our vehicle in the library parkade, and we're making our way into the Citadel Theater to go check out a show. And I hate carrying keys. I don't like carrying a wallet. Right. And so I made the idiot move. I kept the vehicle key with me, but I took all the other keys and threw them in the console. So we go to this show and we enjoy the show, and there's like an after party and everything. So several hours have gone by. We come out, we come to our truck. Both doors are wide open. The truck's been ransacked. So it's a sick feeling, of course.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm looking and my heart sinks when I realize that the keys are gone. What would you immediately check if you saw your keys were gone? You'd look for your registration, wouldn't you? Registration gone as well. Because
Yes.
our address,
address is on there.
Is on the registration.
Oh, and house keys. Sure. That totally makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I have the vehicle key. So I fire our truck up and I pin it. And my adrenaline is coursing. And we lived about 5 minutes at the time in a condo about 5 minutes from the Citadel Theater. And I come screaming in to the front of this condo unit.
Please don't tell me
And I'm
somebody had taken your condo.
Coming up the front door. The condo was still there, luckily. But this guy is walking down the stairs, down the front steps of the condo building as I'm walking up. And as I'm walking into the building, he's walking out and I don't recognize him. And I'm like, hey, man. And he's like, hey, man. Big guy, like 6'3", but let's say a drug user's body.
Yeah.
And he walks past me 2 or 3 steps and my spidey sensors are just going nuts. And I'm like, you know what? No, this is the guy. And so I turn around and
A guy who leaves his keys in the truck has spidey senses. Yeah, no. So that's
That's how Jespersen got the other black eye.
And so I go.
Was he wearing a mask?
Just a second. I said, I said, if I'm wrong on this, I'm really wrong on this, and I apologize in advance if I am. But I have reason to believe that you may have just broken and entered my vehicle, that you've stolen my house keys, and that you've just been up in my condo.
that's a very civil way to approach a thief.
And I'm walking towards him, and I don't have the height advantage, but I think I probably have the adrenaline advantage, and I really don't like feeling victimized. But I'm also not looking for a fight with somebody who has so many unknowns around them. If you're brazen enough to break into vehicles, go to someone's condo, enter the condo, case it out, keep the keys, what kind of a person are you? So I'm trying to make eye contact with my wife, like, why are you not calling 911 already? Like, we need to make this happen. And the guy we have a confrontation, and he says, what are you talking about? How dare you accuse me? And I said, I don't recognize you. You can't even look me in the eye right now. And I said, why don't you let me check your pockets? And he says, you're not. And then the language kind of got a little more aggressive. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, the police are going to be here in about 60 seconds. I said, you give me everything of mine out of your pockets right now, and you're not going to jail, or you don't, and we'll let them sort it out. And he goes, okay. And he reaches into his pockets and he pulls out cash, he pulls out a watch, he pulls out my house keys, he pulls out a whole bunch of stuff. And I say a deal's a deal, and I'm trembling, but I take my stuff back as we're hearing sirens. And the guy just books. And as a credit to EPS Canine, they tracked the guy down, they arrested him, and they charged him.
You said you...
But I made a deal, and I went back on my word.
There's no honor among thieves.
But you know what? To state the obvious, I've never left house keys in the car again. But when I think of like parkades and things like that, I find that sometimes you look back and you go, how could I have been so stupid? How could I have been so careless?
Hang on.
But until you get broken into...
No. Back up, Ryan. That's not the topic. The guy, the big guy, who scared you.
Well, I hope I scared him too.
The criminal that scared you, that was brazen enough to break into your truck and then go to your house and ransack it, that you promised you would not charge.
True.
Who knows your address? May I ask, when does he get out?
You want to know how far I took it?
Yes.
I showed up to every one of his court dates.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I sat there and I watched him.
Really?
I did.
Really?
I took it very personally.
Oh, yeah.
I took it very personally.
I bet you he did too.
Yeah.
And I'm not defending his actions at all, but is he incarcerated at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
You should look into that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess the question really is like when you talk about, self-protection, who has the stronger instinct?
You were the thief?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
This conversation has taken an interesting turn.
Well,
I find myself getting worked up when I tell that story because I never tell it. And when I do, I feel like the feelings come back, The feelings come back, like especially the involvement of the EPS on this. Everybody can crack on police officers. And you get to a point where you need one, and you need one right now.
Yep.
And when they're there, and when they do their job, and when they do it well, I'll tell you, it gives you a whole new, and this might be an obvious thing to say, but it gives you a whole new understanding of what they're all about and the types of things that to a cop listening to this right now, this might not seem like an unusual story whatsoever. To me, it was a story I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. Andrew, have you ever been robbed, broken into, anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Knock on wood, I haven't. I was scared one night. The kid played a joke. I walked into the house and he made the kitchen look like it had been ransacked, and I almost threw up just seeing that. And payback, let me tell you. But I felt sick seeing that. I can't imagine the feeling of that, and it just must feel so awful. And you talk about that word victimized, and oh my gosh, right?
But the worst part of it is you actually mitigated your damages on this, because the worst part of getting robbed from, stolen from, broken into is not knowing who did it and wondering, was it a kid, was it a gangbanger, was it who was it? You got to meet them.
Yeah.
Most people don't.
No.
So I from that perspective, that's fabulous. I've had my car broken into. I've never had my house broken into, but I've certainly had things stolen from me. I've had green rooms and comedy clubs ransacked and
really, hey?
Yeah, money taken.
Guys. We're talking beer league hockey. Like, you think there's always that one diligent guy that locks the locker room,
right?
And you go, really? Like someone's going to show, and then you hear that some guys will say, like, I know guys that have lost their wedding rings, their cell phones. They'll go in, they get your car keys, go to the parking lot. Yep. They know that you're out there for an hour and a half on the ice, right? And even if you're off the ice, you're on skates. What are you going to do?
I still have nightmares over having had my passport stolen. And the only reason I had my passport on me was because I was done work. We were just waiting to go on a trip that we'd saved for years. And a club phoned and asked if I could fill in for a comedian that didn't show. So when I went, passport, wallet in my jacket, did the show, came out, everything's gone. And I need that passport. Everything else I can replace, and pretty quickly. The passport I cannot, at least not as quickly as I needed to. We found the individual through security cameras that had stolen it. We guessed where he might be next. I went to a bar near the club and found him. He gave me back everything but my passport. He said he didn't want that. He gave it to somebody else. And we went around the club. He pointed to different people. Everybody denied that they had it. And in the end, I didn't get it back. And I just learned that if you go to Canada Place early enough in the morning and pay enough cash, they can get you a passport pretty quick. So I did. But to this day, it just really bugs me that somebody didn't even, some petty thief doesn't need a passport. Throw it on the ground, do something.
You hear stories like this all the time. What were that mother that made a plea to Edmontonians? Yeah. The ashes, the cremated remains of their young child in a locket. And somebody steals this, and in situations like that, it's like you appeal to even the minute
the ounce
decency,
of good
the
side.
ounce of decency,
Right.
And you say, listen, hang this thing up on the doorknob of a police station. Don't even walk in here. Just
Exactly.
complete,
Exactly.
these types of things. And you wonder. I mean, my Jeep got burgled in Vancouver many years ago, back in the days of film cameras. And I fancy myself to be an amateur photographer, and we had set up the tripod and taken some family photos. And our family lives across different provinces, and so this was a big deal. And I still had that film, that roll of film in the camera, and the camera was stolen. I found myself the same. What are you going to do? I mean, it's with apologies, kind of, some crackhead that's stolen your camera and is just going to pawn it off, probably rip out the film or not even know there's film in there.
Throw it in the garbage.
But the photos, the film itself, so meaningful to the person who's lost it. It's that sense of being victimized.
I know, and I don't know if this is as bad or worse, but the last time my car got broken into, I had one of those AMA all valuables removed sign, and I'd forgotten to remove all valuables. And they took everything in the car, and then they took that sign and they stuck it in the middle.
Oh, like confirmed.
Like now all valuables have been removed.
That's a nice little big
And it
middle
was like,
finger
man,
to you.
As a comedian, can you find something in that?
There's a small part of me that goes,
tiny.
Yeah, that was funny. But I mean, if you're going to steal from me, don't mock me as well.
Fair enough.
A friend of mine in Vancouver, in the condo that she had a place in Kitsilano, and it got to the point where her car was broken in so many times, she just started to leave the windows rolled down all the time. Nothing in there, windows rolled down. So, because don't break the windows, please don't break the windows to replace it. But here you go. It's unlocked. There's nothing here. Go.
Yeah.
Right? And when first time I saw that, I said, what are you doing? She says, have to. She says, because I've gone through so many windows, it's been broken into so many times. And I just couldn't believe it.
Do you know, I don't know for a fact that this story is true. A comedian tells this story quite frequently, that this happened to him. His car got broken into so many times that he just waited outside his house in the dark. Took 2 nights before somebody broke into the car. He grabbed them, got them, and robbed them. Took their wallet, and just said, I just want you to know how this feels. I'm not calling the police. I'm not doing anything. Took everything of value that he had and then sent him on his way.
I've got a buddy who's visiting this weekend, and I'll be excited to let him know that upon his arrival in several short hours here on this beautiful Saturday morning that I told his story. Perhaps he's listening right now, but he experienced what he called a dream scenario, in that he lives in a neighborhood in Calgary with a relatively high amount of theft from vehicles. And he has a nice vehicle, and the same sort of a thing. He's sitting in his his front room one night watching TV, and he just happens to look outside the drapes and see a break-in in progress. His vehicle is being broken into. Now, this guy's about 6'5", and when he shakes your hand, it feels like you're shaking hands with Gandalf. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like shaking hands with Dave Semenko. And he ran out, and he was able to pull the guy out of the truck, subdue him, you know what that means, incapacitate him, and then hold him until police arrived. And he said it was the best feeling he's ever had, making an arrest. And finally, after whatever it was, the second or third or fourth time that his family's vehicles had been broken into, he was able to participate in the judiciary process.
Good for him.
Wow.
Mr. Ryan, go ice that face of yours.
Yeah.
We did this on purpose today. We looked at each other. I looked in both your eyes, both yours, and you looked into the one of mine. And we said, it's been a serious week with the Liberals tabling a bill on right to die legislation in Canada, and the provincial budget, and the tragedy in Ottawa-Piscat. We felt like we wanted to just sit down as 3 friends and 3 colleagues and just shoot the breeze and look at this. Our time is up. It's always a pleasure, you two.
Ditto.
You can hear
gotcha.
Jalen, Nye, and Andrew Grose weekdays on 6:30 CHED. The afternoon news, of course, from 2 to 6. I'm on the air from 9 to noon. Thanks for making it part of your routine. Did I blow it?
No, we've been working on trying to get it from 2 to 5. So every time you say 2 to 6,
Good luck
it's
with
like,
that.
it's not going very well.
Should we start saying 5 and then maybe people will just forget? Have a great weekend, everyone.